Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the World Franchise Congress. So it's great to be here, and I think we are having a great show. And today's session, I think we have been given an opportunity to talk about uh, international business. I've spent last 17 years working in international franchising, and I think I look at from a very evolutionary perspective. Things have changed a lot, and I think the opportunities which are there now didn't exist before. I think when I started in franchising business, it was mostly American brands or European brands coming to our part of the world. But now when I look at the market, I'm seeing brands from Dubai going to Riyadh, or brands from Riyadh going to Kuala Lumpur, brands from Taiwan going to the Philippines, brand from Philippines coming to India, and brands from India going to Vietnam. So I think there's a lot which has opened up the space of franchising, the space of international development. And I think today's session, we have a very interesting panel. And they come from all different walks of formats, businesses, and experiences. So I would want to focus this session on their own journeys and their own learnings with regards to how they look at the business and international development. This is I know, it might be hard, but make this interactive. Let us know your questions, and yeah. So, I think we'll start with you. Uh, you're running a service business, and service businesses, of course, franchising is a lot driven by service businesses worldwide. And how do you look at it? And when you come to a market like India, where services like yours are either hyper organized or very fragmented, how do you see the difference, and what kind of business model you think you will be able to build here?
That's a great question, and I think it would be sort of arrogant of us, any brand, that when you go into a market to think that you can translocate whatever it is that you do in the market that you originate from. So the first thing that you need to do is get local intelligence and partner with a local expert that'll be able to tell you things like the availability of the market. What is the desire for what it is that you have on offer? What is the price point? Can you, as a business, knowing the costs that it costs you to do business, will it be able to survive and sustainable? And is it an investment opportunity for those people in the local market? So those are the criteria that we would look at doing first. And if there is a market, we're here. So I hope that answers your question.
It does, and I think if you can, a cleaning business, a B2B cleaning business is, I think in my view, my experience is less about capital, more about time, and more about your ability to bring human resource into your business. And of course, that is a very different aspect if you compare UK and India. So how do you look at that aspect?
Okay, so we've been in business for 35 years, and the method that you use to wipe a table is the same around the world. It's just how much does it cost you to do that, all right? And then what is the market prepared to pay for that service? And how regular do they want that service to be done? So primarily we as a business are looking at commercial cleaning, where you're dealing in contracts so that you are able to get a consistent monthly invoiced system, so that you're creating an asset value to your business rather than responding to incidental cleans, be it deep cleans or residential cleans. It's not to say that we don't do those, but what we've identified as a gap in the marketplace based on the intelligence and the partners that we've formed here is that productivity is where the rubber hits the road. I think that cheap labor doesn't necessarily mean productive labor, all right?
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, so by taking what best practices of adding a little bit of machinery and then reducing the amount of hours that it takes to do a job and not having people maybe spending 10 hours doing a function and put it into what we know will get the job done, we can still be price competitive and produce a better result at the end of the day. So we're very excited about being here, and we know that through our systems, training and advice, we can create a lot of wealth opportunities for those that are interested in the commercial cleaning sector.
Thank you so much. Jonathan, so coming from the UK market and being in the franchising business for such a long time, I think you are bringing in a F&B brand and a beauty service brand. Actually, both of those categories are very big in our market, are regarded as a very safe franchisee to invest in. When you sort of I know this is your first time, right?
Yes, that's correct.
When you compare what you see in the UK and here, what's your first reaction?
Well, my first reaction is that the market is both the same and different. People are the same, but the cultural interfaces might be different. And so I think to pick up a point that Ronan made is that whilst the essence of franchising is about replicating a model and a model that works in the home country, one has the confidence that that will work elsewhere. But it's extremely useful to be able to partner with somebody who understands the local context, whether that's cultural, it's taxation, other structures, the HR element. And so what we can bring is the model that works, and to an extent those are universal when it's dealing with people. But to be able to partner with somebody who understands the market is a key for us.
I think another thing which I might add there, because when I started in this business, we saw a lot of salon chains getting organized. The biggest challenge was we had people, but we didn't have trained people. And I think that's something which any brand which comes from. So do you also sort of see that aspect, and you will be able to plug that in when you bring your brand to India to train people?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm here representing two brands. One is a barber brand, and the other is a pizza brand. Those are both universal products in the home market. So, a question that I've had on the stand here today is what makes you different? What is different about your model? And the truth is that there are lots of examples of those models, both in the UK. It was not a first mover advantage, and so the thing that's made the businesses successful in the UK is having systems and structure, and specifically training, I think, to pick up your point there, Venus. And the initial training that we can provide to people is key to allow them to set up to succeed. But then ongoing, you have to be able to monitor those standards as well. And so it's very difficult to ensure in any system that you get people who are 100%. There's no crystal ball. You try your best when you're inducting people, whether that's franchisees or whether the franchisees bringing on staff for their units. But if you prepare them well, then you've got the very best chance to succeed.
Thank you so much. Daryl, welcome. And Daryl, you spent decades first in private equity, and then you started your own company, funded it, brought in brands which were almost not breathing, and then make them, and again, big legacy-oriented brands. I mean, that's of course a very interesting story to share. But from your perspective, now that you have a portfolio of brands, of course, Pitman being such a legacy-oriented brand, when you look at from UK, Canada, and then now bringing Pitman to India, how do you see this? I know you have been to this part of the world multiple times. I think my question to you is one, because since you understand capital and money, how when a brand is developing internationally, how they should look at that capital part, and what else they need to think to be able to sort of build a brand which one maybe like a legacy oriented brand like Pitman, and also I think you have some startup brands as well.
So one of my key observations in business is that businesses need to be properly capitalized in order to succeed. And what we look at with our brands is we're not really interested in selling one location in a specific market to an entrepreneur, unless it's a very small entrepreneur, a small market.
Daryl, just hold your mic a bit closer because.
Oh, can you hear me now better?
Yes, we can hear you.
So one of our key criteria is that businesses have to be well capitalized in order to succeed. We look at our partners, our franchise partners, as people who should become multiple unit owners, especially when we're looking at international. Internally, we call it across all our brands, we're not looking for pins on the map. We're not looking for one-ofs in Austria or in Kenya or in another country. What we're looking for is actually what our arrangement is here in India, is partnering with a very strong master franchise and then opening multiple units under area developers or sub-masters in order that we can attract the well-capitalized entrepreneur or group who in turn can open 5 or 10 locations. In the UK, what we've noticed is our best and most profitable franchisees are all multi-unit owners. And we care deeply and passionately about the unit economics of our franchise partners. If our franchise partners are making money, we make money. Our goal is not just to make money, but to build brand equity and the equity value in our brands. And how are we going to do that? It's only with strong franchise partners. So we spend a lot of time vetting our franchise partners and finding the right partner who's going to grow with the appropriate scale. We love India because we believe we can really scale here. We can have at least 100 units, if not more, of Pitman, and then bring our other brands into the country as well.
Thank you so much, Daryl. Stephanie, again, good to see you again in India.
And you, thank you.
And Stephanie, you build your business in beauty, care, wellness, I think initially and still in product, and then you expanded that into service aspect, education, skill development aspect. So it has been, but you've holded on to your passion and what you really sort of are, you've spent your, I guess, life with. And but you've created these different channels. I think if you can share with us the difference between, because in my work life, I meet people. Some of them are product people, some of them are service people. You're doing both. You have done both. So how do you sort of see that when a product brand needs to be developed? I think that's where you would use the word distribution. But when you're building a service brand, it's more about quality, IP, content. So how just talk about that.
It's actually a very complex question to answer, and one that's taken many years to evolve. But we did start in the service-based business for skin clinics. So we had a number of skin clinics throughout Australia and other countries. And it was a very successful business. And one of the ways that we thought we could grow was to develop product to seed those skin clinics. So we developed a number of brands in the skincare industry, and we sold those brands to our own skin clinics. And during COVID in 2019, 2020, all of those clinics shut down. No one was buying product. And I had a full team with nothing to do. One of our pillars of growth was education. We already educated all of those clinics. We've trained over the last 12 years more than 7,000 Australians face-to-face. in a very unofficial way. And we've trained more than 12,000 people online with a number of skills required in the beauty and aesthetic industry. So in 2019, 2020, when COVID hit, we decided to formalise that training. We knew it was going to be a tough job because Australia has a very regulated, a very strict regulated education industry. We have a governing body called ASQA, and its sister TESQA, who monitor, regulate the universities and vocational training colleges. So it took us 18 months to get our licence to issue advanced diplomas and diplomas for beauty therapists, nurses, aestheticians and doctors. And we've since evolved the Professional Education Group. So now we have a number of colleges. The Australian Beauty Institute is one. We also educate skills in cookery, healthcare. We have a diploma of hospitality management. There's a number of qualifications that we offer. And it's a very high demand area in Australia. We have very, very short workers. We have a very short supply of workers in Australia for healthcare, for example, and cookery. And so a lot of international students come to Australia and train with our college. But one of the reasons why we came to India is because there's a huge demand for beauty services, and I think it's a really
Absolutely.
good time to launch in India. The Indian government's focused on empowering women, and training in beauty skills is very much a female-demanded qualification, and so it's a perfect time to launch here.
I think I couldn't agree more because in last 20 years, the beauty and the salon industry has organized itself in every neighborhood in India. I'm sure, I think you can vouch for it, that there will be at least 8 to 10 beauty salons. Out of that, 50% are chain now and 50% mom and pop. Another category which is growing is aesthetics. And you're right, I think the training is still lacking, and I think it also sort of gives us a insight into when you have to, like with the COVID hit, Stephanie just didn't sort of, she actually innovated, she evolved, and now she has this business in education, training, and certification. So I think there are only 3 ways you can expand a business. Either it's a new product, either it's a new channel, or it's a new market. So I think you have done all 3. So I like that. Troy, let me read the word. So you have spent a lot of time in building competitive socializing, that's a long word, building global brands in competitive socializing. Tell us more about it. And I think among everyone, your business is, and your expertise and what you bring on board requires a fair amount of capital, a fair amount, like best real estate in the world. And you did that. You did that for biggest of the brands. So I think if you can share what did you learn, and what major changes you see, let's say from 10 years back to now, in both in the Western world and here.
Okay, thanks, Venus. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're enjoying the conference. So competitive socialising it's one of the fastest growing parts of hospitality around the world. And what it does is simply combining a gaming element to food and beverage. And the gaming element in our case, we've got a brand called Oki, which is in 3 continents, 8 countries around the world. And we've automated the game of darts and the game of shuffleboard. And you combine that with international sharing plates from around the world for food, award-winning cocktails and beers and wines. Now, it's the element of adding gaming on top of food and beverage, which means that for franchisees, you make additional revenue and you make additional profit. And the evolution of this, I seem to have found myself at the epicenter of competitive socialising. I worked for a company called Top Golf. Right. I was their president of international, and and I took them about $3.5 billion worth of contracts around the world. I'm also a chairman of a company called Surf Lakes, which is a competitive socialising surfing concept. So you can now surf anywhere in the world, big man-made lake, big plunger in the middle, sending off 5 different size waves. But with Oki, what we've done, and to Venus's question, is there's sort of 3 aspects. First of all, we proved the concept. So we did it in our home country of Norway. We took it across to Australia in Brisbane. We saw exactly the same customer response and the exact same profitability. We've now taken that to 6 other countries. We then had to prepare, and you prepare for each market. And India for us was one of the highest priorities to come to. Why? The population numbers speak for themselves. The 1.4 trillion. But probably the most telling statistic for us is the 65% of the population under 35, and that tends to be the sort of age range that people come into it. The economics is where we turn to the third P of profit, and we spend every day. Our business is focused on franchising, so we spend every day on how do we make the capital that you spend be able to be returned as effectively and quickly as possible. And on average, we see 2-year paybacks for your capital. And we work every day on the model in terms of COGS, in terms of people, and in terms of the way you look for your real estate. And our model has now been proven across a number of countries. We're now ready with the help of Fran Global to come to India, because we think this should be the most vibrant country in the world for our brand. And not only that, having looked at the profitability for this country, it's going to be one of the most profitable that we will be performing with our franchisees in the world.
Thank you. And while you build, I think Top Golf, if people don't know, it's from Texas, Dallas, Texas. And it's the largest brand in the world where they have made golf accessible with the combination of hospitality. It is not the easiest business to scale because there's a huge requirement of real estate, monies, and I think in your a competitive socializing business. So when you're working with these large players, how do you translate, because Texas, Dallas is unique. It's not like, let's say, Dubai or Singapore, but you have Top Golf there. So I think when we look at a market like India, how do you translate that big model into something which would work here? Because this is a slightly different market. I know recreational aspirations are everywhere. So how do you see that?
Yeah, I think the key is to break down both the capital investment and the profitability, and then if you've got to adapt that to the marketplace. And so, I mean, Top Golf is a big beast. It's a big golf driving range, 12 acres. So for India, the challenge there is the cost of real estate. For Oki, the brand I'm CEO of, we're a small footprint. We're about sort of 5,000, 6,000 square feet for a restaurant bar concept. And then when we look at that and you look at the capital that you need to put into play and the returns you can get, we see that the money that you can make in India actually is better than you can make in our home countries in Norway, when we've been to Australia. So it's about going through each element, understanding the marketplace, understanding the customer. So the pricing that we will have in India will be about half the price that we'll be charging in other parts of the world. And that's right. That's what the market says. And we will assess all of the rest of our costs accordingly. But we're really encouraged. When we sat down with the help of a financial hospitality expert in India and went through every line, we didn't believe it when we saw it. And then we went back and did it a few other times, and absolutely delighted when you look at the economics that you can drive out of this country for all the benefits it has.
I think Troy mentioned a important point about pricing. Uh, this is one question when I am working, I get that pricing is going to be an issue. India is a value market. Yes, India is a value market, but India is also a market where there are different kind of people who would prefer or not prefer, who would want or demand experience over pricing. So I think this is one thing which I have experienced, that in our market, you need to know who you are building for. And accordingly, you need to build your business model. So, Ronan, yours is a total service business, and people are, of course, your major cost. Can I say that?
Yeah, no, we are a
People-oriented
people
business.
concentrated business, yes.
So, and again, that factor is such a big factor in a market like India, because people are not that expensive the way they are in the UK. So when you factor that in, and I think, and when you look at an Indian market, especially from a B2B space, considering we have, I've worked with cleaning brands, and then they will say, okay, there are people like JLLs, and there are big property management people. So, and then of course it's completely fragmented, and people is a major cost, but they're not skilled people. So when you look at a market like India, let's talk about a city like Delhi. When someone you granting a master franchise, right? What would be your sort of main top 3 or top 4 points you would want the master franchise to really like nail it down?
Thanks for the question. I suppose what it is selection is critical, and it's to find the person that understands what franchising is. It's not, like when you buy a Mercedes-Benz, you don't expect Mercedes-Benz to drive the car, right? So when you invest in a franchise, you've got to drive it, because that's what you're investing in. You're investing in a business. What we are is a system of tools and how-tos to be effective and sustainable. So it's looking for someone who's got that drive and spirit to succeed, but also compliant, because any of the rules that we have in play have been developed by 35 years of mistakes that we've made to avoid the potholes that are going to be in front of you.
35 years.
So, yeah, the systems are in place to generate profit, not to be a hindrance on how to do. And if you want to reinvent the wheel, then possibly franchising. It doesn't matter you take any of the brands here. If you want to reinvent what we are, don't invest in a franchise.
I think I totally agree. I also experienced this, that, we want to bring this. Yes, you need to customize your model, but you don't need to completely, so change who you are. I totally agree. Yeah. And Daryl, since your brand, especially Pittman, is there in multiple countries, you also see a difference of how consumers consume your courses. That someone who is in the UK and Canada, the same course is the way it is consumed and looked at and used is different than, let's say, it is in Saudi Arabia or India.
Yeah, for sure. And Kuwait is a very good example. We have a very big Pittman Center in Kuwait. It's almost 7,000 square feet. And it really only deals with corporate employees and corporate training, right, where in the UK, corporate training represents maybe 20% of our total volume. Part of the reason in Kuwait that corporate training is so important is the ultimate parent company of Pittman is Kuwait Airlines. And so they have a lot of training contracts with their sub-suppliers and such, and so they bring them into the Pittman training umbrella. But we've adapted our training there. In Pakistan, which is our single biggest market from a learner perspective, we're actually embedded in a university in Lahore. And in that university, there's a standalone Pittman, but it's not its own center on a high street somewhere. And so we've adapted that brand to that market. And in Lahore, all of the students who come to us are studying other programs at the university.
Yeah, I think it's more about what that typical marketplace has most of. So I think Kuwait has most of infrastructure and the money. In India, I think what we have most of is the opportunity to train and skill people. So that's why the model and consumption pattern would be different. Thank you. Stephanie.
It's very hard to talk about just one thing. I know you asked what one thing was. But often when we talk about these things, I look at risk and the biggest risk to your business not succeeding. And in the education industry, there's probably two. One of them is no enrolments. If you don't have any students enrolling, you don't have a business. And the key to enrolments is to be able to produce students that have the best skills for that particular industry than any other student from any other college. So by putting students through our education company in India, we are very excited to know that they will have the best skills in this case, the beauty industry, so that companies like Glam Studios, like Lakme, like Kaya Skin Clinics
Right.
will want our students to work in the Indian workforce. So for us to be successful in India, we need to find a partner that's very, very passionate about giving their students the best quality training that they possibly can have.
And I think sometimes, especially in a business like Stephanie, the market might not readily demand that best quality of people, but if you start delivering the numbers, eventually that would become the standard. I'm sure you would have seen that.
Well, we've learnt it in our own businesses. So with our skin clinics in Australia and elsewhere, the biggest failing clinics were the ones that had the poorly trained students or the poorly trained therapists. And Australia is a very multicultural market. We actually import a lot of our workers from many other countries.
Right.
And in our own clinics, we learnt, which countries had the best trained therapists and which countries weren't very well trained. And it was a very good guide for us to understand what markets were needing additional training services to be able to take their skills to the next level.
Thank you, Stephanie. Troy.
At Oki, our philosophy is that we are a tech company in hospitality to create shared happiness for our guests. So the very simple philosophy we ask for our franchisees is to create shared happiness for your guests. And you'll do that. We combine gaming with food and beverage, so really understand what food they're looking for, because we adapt that into our menu because food is very local. The other aspect is if you follow our model, our system, as everyone else has talked about, you will make money. We've done it, we've proven it, we've done it over again, and we've made the mistakes. So if you follow that, we're confident you'll make money. Focus on your guests and focus on smart real estate. Because if you buy smart real estate, that's a pretty important line in the P&L, that if you get that right, you'll make more money. You get it wrong, it just takes the money out of the system. That's better in your pocket than some landlords. So I think that they'd be the two key things. And I think every day be as passionate about your business that we are. And I think the best entrepreneurs that we see that are franchisees is that they're up earlier than anyone else and they go to bed later than anyone else because they're just passionate about what they do and they love the brand every day. And that's all we can ask from anyone that wants to franchise with us in India.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I know we are running out of time, so thank you, everyone. I think I enjoyed this, and I hope you do too. And I want to thank the conference team and our panelists and you for your time. And good luck, and let us know if we can help. Thank you.